Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, July 7th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The emergence of the Delta variant is raising awareness and concern tonight. Health officials once again urging everyone to get a COVID-19 vaccination. As KPBS reporter Alexandra Rangel tells us, technology is now helping to support efforts to control the coronavirus.
Fitness trackers are really unique because people are continuously wearing them.
By simply wearing your smartwatch, researchers are able to identify a possible health impact you may have. This is how the Detect Health study conducted by the Scripps Research Translational Institute was able to collect data from over 38,000 people through a health app. Epidemiologist Jennifer Radin, a lead researcher in the study, says they analyzed participants' heart rates, sleep, and activity levels using sensors in activity trackers.
Sensors may actually give us an early warning that something is impacting someone's health and that maybe an individual needs to stay at home or be more aware of their health and any symptoms that they may develop in the next few days.
Radin says you can learn a lot from a person's heart rate as it tends to increase with viral infections. She says a subtle change in heart rate can help detect infection even before symptoms present themselves. The Detect study also tracked how long it took people to recover from COVID. Results showed on average it took people 2 to 3 months to return to their healthy baseline. Radin says the ongoing study is working to identify future outbreaks.
So this can give us an early warning that perhaps viral activity is increasing in a certain region, and this can give public health officials a heads up so that they can help respond to the outbreak faster and earlier.
As researchers work to develop new tracking metrics for respiration rate, temperature, and blood pressure, Radin says they need more people to participate in the study. Those interested can download the My Data Helps phone app to learn more about the study. Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
And the Delta variant is now the dominant variant in California. Health experts warn it's spreading quickly in people who have not been vaccinated. Today, San Diego County confirmed 54 cases of the variant. That's up from 25 at last report. There have been 4 hospitalizations and 1 death. The Delta variant is surging in some areas with low vaccine rates, but right now the county isn't anticipating any changes to mask guidance or reopening.
We're going to follow CDPH and CDC guidance, but those haven't changed. And again, I just got to reiterate that the way you protect yourself from the Delta variant is you get a vaccine.
Under California's guidance, unvaccinated people must continue to wear masks indoors to help protect against the risk of infection. One challenge to overcome as the Delta variant spreads: vaccine hesitancy. Coming up, the age group that's holding off on getting the shot and why. For years, law enforcement agencies investigated when an officer shot and killed an unarmed suspect, and district attorneys decided on the charges. That is until now. KPBS reporter John Carroll tells us about a new law that puts the state's Justice Department in charge.
Drop it! Drop it! Drop it!
Like any major American city, San Diego has had its share of officer-involved shootings that result in the death of an unarmed person. But a new law, Assembly Bill 1506, changes the way those fatal shootings are processed.
We must have accountability and we must have transparency.
For California Attorney General Rob Bonta, AB 1506 is personal. He co-authored the legislation when he was in the Assembly. Bonta says it's all about building trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve, especially communities of color.
Impartial. fair investigations, and independent reviews of officer-involved shootings are an essential component for achieving that.
I think it will make a huge difference on the building of trust in the community, as well as actual justice.
San Diego civil rights attorney Genevieve Jones-Wright says she thinks San Diego District Attorney Summer Stephan will welcome the state involvement. We reached out to the DA's office a few times today. We didn't get a response. But though Jones-Wright says the DA's public statements will probably be positive, she also says the proof will be in the pudding.
And will the DA's office actually change the way that they pursue justice or not pursue justice in other cases involving law enforcement?
2 investigative teams are now in place, one in Sacramento and one in Los Angeles. They will immediately be called in when an officer shoots and kills an unarmed person. Then the Department of Justice will issue a decision one way or the other.
Either through a written report explaining why charges are not appropriate, or we will file criminal charges.
Bonta says he expects 40 to 50 incidents every year requiring state involvement. He says the investigative teams are on the ground now and ready to go. John Carroll, KPBS News.
California power managers cannot say with confidence that there will be enough power available this summer to keep the lights on and air conditioners blowing. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson has details.
Last summer was brutal for California electricity providers. 5 times they had to ask the public for emergency conservation in an effort to keep the lights on. Conservation fell short twice, and San Diego dealt with rolling power outages. The power supply picture doesn't look much better this year.
We have seen that some of the resources that were procured have run into some supply chain issues.
Grid manager Elliot Mainzer says reserves that eventually were unavailable helped cause last summer's rolling blackouts. He says wildfires, drought, and widespread heat only make things worse.
We still import about a quarter of our electricity from out of state. So when it gets simultaneously hot in the Pacific Northwest and in the desert Southwest and in the Intermountain West, the amount of power available to California for imports can get stressed.
San Diego Gas and Electric's Carolyn Wynn says the utility has bought more backup power, added battery storage, and utility managers hope conservation keeps things from getting worse than last summer.
Last August, our customers really showed up and they conserved energy. So customers make a big difference when our grid is strained.
Wynn also acknowledges that problems with the electrical grid in other regions could also impact locals. Officials say the supply probably won't change much over the summer, so they'll have to rely on customers to pick up the slack. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
The city of San Diego is outfitting 8 of its rec centers, fire and police stations with solar panels and giant batteries. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the goal of the so-called microgrids is to increase power reliability in the face of climate change.
Right here, we're going to have a bank of battery energy storage.
Lindsay Hawes walks me around the Memorial Rec Center in San Diego's Logan Heights neighborhood, where next year the city will install its own renewable power generating system. Rooftop solar panels will power the building's lights, computers, and pool pumps. And if there's ever a blackout, the building can run on the batteries, independent from the SDG&E electrical grid.
We know that with climate change, disruptions to our energy supply are increasing. And whether, again, it be a public safety power shutoff or a wildfire or some other disaster, the question isn't when or isn't if, it's when. And so we want to be prepared.
The microgrid model, decentralized energy generation and storage, is increasingly popular nationwide. The company building the city's microgrids, Gridscape, says the approach can help cities, schools, grocery stores, and other businesses save money and be more resilient.
We need a solution that's more distributed in nature so that there's no single point of failure, and microgrids provides you with that. And we literally need millions of these to make up the grid so that it becomes stable and meets everybody's needs.
Construction on the microgrids is expected to start in May of next year. City officials estimate they'll save taxpayers $6 million in energy costs over 25 years. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
San Diego County has created an electric vehicle consumer guide website with information about benefits, costs, incentives, and a link to shop for vehicles. It's part of the EV roadmap to build charging stations, encourage people to buy electric vehicles, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The county is also working with UC San Diego to create a strategy for zero carbon emissions by 2035. The prices at the pump continue their steady climb as summer travel is in full swing. California has some of the highest gas prices in the country. And as Rachel Kim reports, they're not expected to fall anytime soon.
$100 exactly. Oh my God. It's never happened. That's why I know they're getting high.
Melanie Brand got to see for herself that gas prices across the Southland are now at its highest point since 2012. AAA reports the average price of a gallon of regular in the LA metro area is $4.33. While Brand filled up in Beverly Grove, Rangel Rubio got sticker shock over in Chinatown.
I just drove 3 hours and a half from Central Coast and our price is over $4.05. And I see here $5.95, almost $6 a gallon. It's unreal.
Patrick DeHaan is the head of petroleum analysis at GasBuddy.com. He says prices are going up because of rising demand as the economy reopens.
Americans taking to the road for July 4 and into the summer months, which is pushing demand up to near normal levels. But due to the pandemic, which caused oil production to decline, we're faced with basically a shortage of supply.
DeHaan also says, compared to everyone else in the country, California has the nation's highest gasoline taxes. The most recent hike took effect July 1st to pay for bridge and road repairs.
It has the dubious distinction of being one of the few places in North America that has a carbon management program that is a cost on carbon emissions. It has the nation's most stringent type of gasoline required by the California Air Resources Boards. Not only that, but there's a lack of energy infrastructure, pipelines in this case, that could help alleviate some of the high prices by bringing in product from other areas.
Our tax is already high enough. I don't think we should be paying more for gas.
So when will prices start to fall? DeHaan believes not until sometime in the fall.
In fact, gasoline demand continues to improve. We may see demand go up until late July or early August. And along with it, gas prices may be going up for the next couple of weeks. Now, keep in mind, we're in the midst of hurricane season, which can impact price.
I don't know what to say. It's just crazy. I just get a ripoff. It's a ripoff.
And that was Rachel Kim reporting. Here in San Diego County, the average price of a gallon of regular gas is $4.29. That is the highest average since May of 2014. It has risen almost $1.11 since the start of the year. Tropical storm Elsa is bringing heavy rain, flooding, and high winds to North Florida's Gulf Coast. And as Camila Bernal explains, the storm is predicted to pack a punch as it moves up the eastern seaboard.
With maximum sustained winds of 65 miles per hour, Tropical Storm Elsa made landfall Wednesday morning.
Tropical storms, if they're slow moving, can flood worse than some fast moving ones.
The storm not scaring away some tourists to the Sunshine State.
It's still a vacation.
Elsa reached peak strength as a Category 1 hurricane Tuesday, but weakened before coming ashore. Still, authorities warn the storm can be dangerous.
Tornadoes, of course, are a continued concern, and they will be possible across Northeast Florida.
We could have flooding, surf that people shouldn't be in out at our beaches.
Florida's North Gulf Coast experiencing heavy rain and power outages.
We have more than 10,000 restoration personnel prepared to respond to these outages as soon as it's safe to do so.
And now, as Elsa moves inland, more wind damage and flooding also possible.
We don't want people to get overconfident, be out in their cars and potentially driving into flooding. You could have down power lines with wind. There's a whole lot of possibilities that could happen in these storms.
Elsa impacting northern Florida, parts of Georgia, and the Carolinas. It's expected to continue along the mid-Atlantic coast and maybe even re-strengthen into a tropical storm in the Northeast by Friday morning.
Our thoughts and prayers are with those that are currently experiencing the storm right now.
Camila Bernal, KPBS News.
California's wildfire season is on pace to exceed 2020, which was one of the most disastrous in the state's history. According to CAL FIRE, nearly 4,600 fires have burned almost 115 square miles this year. That is compared to 3,800 fires that burned about 49 square miles in the same time frame last year. CAL FIRE says the increased wildfire activity is being driven by hot and dry conditions throughout the state.
We're watching strong high pressure build in again across the interior sections of the Southwest, which means the heat is on. Excessive heat watches have already been posted for some of the deserts, but near the coast, while it is going to warm up a little bit, it's still going to stay rather comfortable. So here are those excessive heat watches that are going into effect Saturday morning, lasting through Sunday evening for this weekend for a place like Borrego Springs and Mount Laguna. You're under those excessive heat watches. So again, mainly out towards the desert regions. For tonight in the metro, temperatures drop off into the upper 60s under partly cloudy skies. Elsewhere in Oceanside, we're getting down to 64 degrees for that overnight low. Borrego Springs getting down to 81. Chula Vista 64 for that overnight low. Thursday features another hot day. Here's that upper level high. It's just stuck here. The heat really builds in more towards the interior sections here of the Southwest, but we're still going to be talking about it again in some of the desert regions here in and around Southern California, more so in the days to come. So for tomorrow in Oceanside, we get up to 76, El Cajon 91, Ramona 94, triple digits once again for Borrego Springs. You're going to get up to 110 for that daytime high. Friday, not a whole lot of change here in the forecast. That upper level ridging pattern, that high, is only going to intensify. Now a little bit further east, spotty showers and storms possible in the higher terrain, but will likely stay dry here near the coast. Temperatures, I did mention, warming up just a little bit into those upper 70s Saturday and Sunday, cooling off as we head into the new work week, though, on Monday. Further inland, again, a little bit of a warm up here. Temperatures generally getting up into the upper 80s, peaking on Saturday, getting up to 89 degrees, and after that, a slow but steady drop through the rest of the weekend. In the mountains, temperatures are closing in on the 80s Sunday, and we get up there by the time we get to Monday. And then in the deserts, oh boy, this is where the heat is on triple digits, close to 120 degrees by Sunday. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
Health experts are worried about COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy among young adults as the Delta variant continues to spread. And as Mary Maloney reports, new data shows the same groups that have been most affected by the virus are also the ones with the lowest vaccination rates.
Vaccinations among young adults have been lower and increasingly more slow compared to other age groups. That's according to a recently published CDC report worrying health experts.
Even individuals with mild illness could have long-lasting symptoms. There are people who have lost their hair, people who continue to have loss of the sense of taste or smell.
The CDC report found the weekly rate of newly vaccinated adults 18 to 29 years old slowed to 2% from 3.6% between April 19th and May 22nd. President Biden urging them to get the shot, citing the Delta variant's alarming rate of spread and saying Americans dying of COVID-19 are overwhelmingly unvaccinated.
It should cause reconsideration, especially in young people.
People who died of COVID-19 in May were younger and more disproportionately Black than those who died of the virus throughout the pandemic. That's based on an analysis of data from the CDC, which also reveals less than 9% of Black people are fully vaccinated. Yet some people, like 21-year-old Destiny Britt, say they're skeptical.
I just need to make sure that it's been around for some time where I know specifically what the side effects are.
She says her hesitation is caused in part by the legacy of the Tuskegee syphilis study and concerns about the vaccine's potential rare side effects.
How do I know that that small percentage won't be me?
For today's Health Minute, I'm Mary Maloney.
And if you want to read more about vaccinations and where to get one, you can find all the information on our website, kpbs.org, and click on the vaccines link on our homepage. The San Ysidro Transit Center has been inadequate for years. Now there's hope that something might be done about it. iNewsSource reporter Jennifer Bowman has more.
The southernmost trolley stop in San Ysidro is also one of San Diego's most popular. It serves as the city's front porch to one of the world's busiest border crossings. But from the outdated facilities to the confusing design to busy trolleys, the station has needed improvements for a long time.
What is welcoming our customers, essentially, right? What is welcoming our workers? And really, right now, I don't think it does it justice. I don't think the welcoming is a good welcome.
For years, community leaders have urged transit officials to act, but they haven't gotten far. Now, the latest regional transportation plan from SANDAG might have an answer. San Ysidro would get what the planning agency is calling a mobility hub. The $200 million project would update the station by 2035.
So these are the denser areas where multiple transportation options come together. That's already happening in San Ysidro, so we can capitalize on that.
The new hub has the same problem that officials have faced before. It needs funding. For KPBS, I'm iNews Source reporter Jennifer Bowman.
iNews Source is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. San Diego County is spending more than $1 million to set up an Office of Environmental and Climate Justice. Supervisor Vargas asked to create the office, and all of her fellow board members agreed. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson sat down with Vargas recently to discuss the issue.
Well, for me, it was really important to create an Office of Environmental and Climate Justice that really was going to ensure that you had folks that were going to be looking every day. Their job is to wake up and look at the world from an environmental and climate justice lens, which means looking at environmental racism, right, in our communities, which means looking at, the toxins in our region, the contamination, and it was bigger, it was part of my bigger environmental package, but for me it was really important that we had an office that really is going to have people who are dedicated to looking at the world from that lens.
Help me define environmental justice as you perceive it.
We're really proud of being a binational community, but if you think about the emissions from the long hours of folks waiting at the border, all of these issues are impacting a community that, because of their zip code, have been, greatly, I think, hurt by these policies that didn't really take them into consideration.
Can you give me an example of how this county office might impact a piece of legislation that the supervisors would consider?
What I keep saying to folks is, for a long time, it's the nonprofit organizations, environmental justice organizations, that have been doing the work that government should have been doing from the beginning. And so what we are doing now is government is taking that responsibility and ensuring that folks have the information that they need, and that we are actually going to be able to get their input as we're making the policies moving forward.
Why do you think the supervisors are ready to make this change?
I came here to do a job on behalf of the community, and that's what we're doing. And so this is a new board of supervisors. We have the will and to really make a difference, and we have a short amount of time to do it, and so we have no time to waste.
Community members have been raising these issues, but why is it now that this is sort of kind of coalescing in organizations that have the ability to make change?
I mean, I think it goes back to decades of organizing in our communities, right? I mean, I started this work 25 years ago, and we have all worked side by side in terms of doing the equity-minded work, right? And whether it's healthcare, the environment, economic justice issues, transportation, housing, we know that they're all integrated. And I think, if anything, the last administration demonstrated how important making decisions based on science is for our communities, right? I think about how COVID, I think, has, when we talk about the impact of COVID, particularly in communities of color, the Latino community, the communities across the county of San Diego, again, it was the issue of where you lived that made a difference on whether or not you were going to have access to vaccines or access to testing. And we shifted that around in a really short amount of time, because we looked at the data, and we looked at the Health Equity Index, and we decided that that's what we were going to prioritize, because the County of San Diego is the safety net for so many folks that for many reasons haven't had access, for years. And so for me, I think it really is a new day in the County of San Diego. And I think for what you're seeing in government, it's a real true partnership between elected officials and community organizations and advocates. And I do believe that the will of county staff is there to be able to make a difference. And they've been very helpful in helping in this transition.
For some San Diegans today, getting married was as easy as walking up and asking to say, I do. The pandemic caused a slowdown in nuptials, but now there are 1,600 people on the county's waiting list. So to meet demand, the county clerk's office started Walk Up Wednesday services at the Marriage Hut at Waterfront Park. Couples can get a license and get married without an appointment.
Morning to get up and want to get married, you can come down, get married. Love's the thing that is there for you.
It's a fast, low-cost way to get hitched, and you can't ask for a better scenic location. By the way, the Marriage Hut is a converted concessions booth at the park that recently won an achievement award from the National Association of Counties for innovative ideas during the pandemic. Very cool. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Maya Trabulsi. I hope you have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.